good morning, everyone. My name is Krista McFarland. Thank you so much for joining us this morning for our annual virtual BlockHealth Summit hosted by the Patient Tory Association. I'm Chris McFarland, the president of the Patient Tory Association, also the founder and CEO of Patient Tory Inc., and I'll also be today's moderator. I would like to give special thanks to our supporters that continue to attend our events and welcome new faces. We have today over 175 people registered to listen in. As you know, the Patient Tory Association was incorporated as a global nonprofit healthcare member organization in order to meet the needs and facilitation of adoption of emerging technologies in the healthcare industry. We provide educational content and events, most commonly our BlockHealth Summit, which launched in 2018 and now partners with Smart Dubai for the promotion and marketing of the advancement of blockchain in healthcare. Currently, the association connects healthcare industry adopters of the P-Toy Matrix blockchain network, and the P-Toy Matrix blockchain securely stores and manages health data in real time. And such management is facilitated by the blockchain-based token called P-Toy, which is also the world's first healthcare cryptocurrency. Today's introductory speaker is Michael Marchant, who also serves on the board of the Patient Tory Association. Michael has over 25 years health IT experience working for vendor, government, and provider-based companies, delivering technology solutions to improve business processes and patient care. Currently, Michael manages health information exchange and system integration teams and processes for the UC Davis Health, which includes building and maintaining an environment that supports HIMSS Stage 7 certification. UCDH pushes the envelope with internal and external integration using InterSystems Health Share Platform and Epic's Interconnect Bridges modules to integrate data inside their four walls or across Care Everywhere, eHealth Exchange, Care Quality, and Pulse EMS networks as well. All right, Michael, thank you for coming. It's all yours.
Yeah, good morning, Krista. Thank you. So just going to give a quick update, or as we decided to call it, the state of the state. Since I'm not the president, I can't really give the state of the union. So, but the state of the state. And thank you, Krista, for the nice introduction and background. Really, today, what I'm going to talk about is some of the things that have been happening in healthcare. And the first one I'll start off with is the acquisitions. And part of the reason this is a big deal in healthcare is because of the companies that we're talking about being part of the acquisition process. So going through kind of the top bullet point there, Oracle and Cerner. So I think everybody's familiar with who Oracle is. And if you're not familiar with healthcare, electronic health record vendor, Cerner is really the number or the top tier competition against Epic for kind of the inpatient and ambulatory EHR space. And Oracle and Larry Ellison's comments about changing the game and being more interoperable. We'll see where that lands, but that was a significant acquisition. It's actually causing Epic to change some of their infrastructure that they actually leverage with their customers and moving away from any Oracle backend that they may have because of that new competition. Then we got CVS. CVS purchased a company called Signify Health. Again, as you're seeing these kind of peripheral players in healthcare space, obviously CVS, you go and get your refills and they have a kind of a health space, but they're expanding their health presence with that acquisition. Again, billions of dollars in the acquisition, expanding their interest in healthcare and really signifying and signaling that they're going to expand that presence. Amazon, with the acquisition of One Medical, giving them access to not only clinical staff, but also software. So they've got, again, now an expanded ability to deliver health and participate in the healthcare space than they had before. And again, Microsoft and Nuance is more voice rec. They've done a lot of work with, and they're fairly widely deployed with voice recognition software in the healthcare industry, and Microsoft's acquisition of that again pushes their presence back in. And part of the reason I wanted to include that is that in healthcare we've seen kind of stems and increases in interest outside of healthcare or traditional healthcare organizations stepping into the healthcare space. and most of those haven't gone very well. Google's tried. IBM has Watson, and they're divesting themselves of that. And again, I think some other organizations have tried to come in and do healthcare before. These particular acquisitions may be a little more niche or have a specific function as opposed to trying to build their own business. But healthcare is difficult. And that's what we're seeing, with companies trying to come in. And I think that these acquisitions are kind of large players buying companies that are already in healthcare. So as opposed to trying to create a presence, they're actually pushing themselves into the marketplace. The other big thing that the healthcare industry is focusing on, a lot of the providers, is the 21st Century Cures TEFCA information blocking provision. The big piece of that from a tech standpoint is the requirement for organizations to support FHIR APIs. So FHIR is a fast healthcare interoperability resource. It's a standard that was developed by the HL7 organization along with some of their other standards. They currently have a version 2. They do CCDs. They have a number of other standards that they've deployed, but this particular standard has been written into the regulation and requires the organizations to support patient access with the FHIR APIs, and really the implemented actors or the impacted actors that are under the regulation required to have and deploy the FHIR APIs are the provider organizations, again, for patient access, health information exchanges and networks that also are part of the fabric of interoperability in the healthcare space, and then health IT developers, again, so those Oracles, the Cerners, the Epics, those organizations that are deploying certified technology in healthcare have to make the technology available for folks to use the FHIR APIs to do that exchange. And really, we'll be seeing larger and larger adoption. And one of the interesting things with the FHIR APIs is really unlocking what people have historically considered as closed systems, especially in the electronic health record space. Those requirements are giving patients access to specific data within their record, making that data more discrete and more portable. And the expansion, if you've heard of USCDI, which is the US Core Data Interoperability, is the actual data set that was written into the provisions, and really will be part of the growing set of data standards that'll be required for these providers, health information exchanges and networks and developers to be deploying. And the timeline, October 6th, they called it Data Liberation Day, at least if you paid attention on social. And really that was the requirement for all electronic health information based on the designated record set of the organization your information's in, is to make that data available electronically for patients. Most providers, our organization included, has been able to provide that access, but it's not discrete data. A lot of it's been historical, our release of information process, and basically just moving that from a paper process to an online process. We're in the process of deploying technology to support the API requirements that will be coming in December. A lot of that's been handled by our EHR vendor, but we'll also be deploying additional capabilities and FHIR technology to support other data sets outside of USCDI. And then next December is the EHI export capability that's active for all of the essentially data that's available. The other big piece with the 21st Century Cures and TEFCA is the establishment of qualified health information networks, or QHINs. Essentially what they're looking to do is create kind of the network of network concept. So the Qualified Health Information Network, or QHIN, will be an aggregator of connections in a community or by a particular vendor, and they'll establish connections with other QHINs. So there's a couple in networks in place today. Care Quality is one, Commonwealth, eHealth Exchange. Those are networks that are leveraging essentially a membership model where people join the network and then they share their endpoints and can exchange data using the IHE profiles. The QHINs are going to establish essentially the connections between the networks, and then establish the connections with the folks that enroll. So the providers or the organizations that sign up with those QHINs, they'll essentially establish the connection with the QHIN, and then the QHIN will broker connections to the other QHINs. One of the big and interesting things from a blockchain standpoint is that, consent, identity, track and trace are all good and solid use cases for the blockchain technology within healthcare. And I think that the idea with the QHINs is there may be an opportunity in healthcare and interoperability space to leverage a blockchain solution within the QHIN do those things for the members of a particular QN. So we'll see where that lands. A lot of current vendors in the interop space or technology space have been applying, but there definitely is space for new vendors and new opportunities to join in. So Krista, that's it for me. I think that's the state of the state as it relates to healthcare and interoperability, and with a little flavor of blockchain for you. So
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michael.
you're welcome.
I'm gonna switch gear if we can get the presentation back up and running. Great. So we're going to switch gear. We're going to have our speaker Rama, but before that, we have one of our pitch companies who is going to, we're going to start into the company pitches. So first up, we have Kamal Narwani. If we can move to her presentation, please. Or
hi guys.
Hi, Bank, the next one.
Yeah, is it Genobank first, or is should I go ahead with DHealth?
DHealth. So we have Kamal Narwani from DHealth Network that will be pitching. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So thanks everyone for being here and taking the time to listen to the intro to DHealth. I'm just going to share my slides. So I'm actually connected to audio through my phone. Should be fine. Give me 1 second. All right, are you able to see my screen clearly?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So thanks for having me here. I am head of global ecosystem development at DHealth. DHealth Network is actually based out of Switzerland, and that's where I am right now. So I'm just gonna kick it off. Okay, so what is DHealth? So DHealth is a layer 1 blockchain protocol. It's a public blockchain protocol that is dedicated to healthcare use cases. And we have, of course, our token that is a byproduct of our network that is used to align the incentives of stakeholders in the actual industry by tokenizing the access, storage, and exchange of patient health data. DHealth is also, we actually went live on our mainnet last year, and we've actually been backed by NEM Foundation, Darkpool Ventures, and the AU21 Capital. And we've also built and forged strong relationships and partnerships with pharma giants like Roche, Novartis, and Eli Lilly, all of whom operate nodes on our network. We've also worked recently with institutions such as University of Zurich, MIT University in Pune, and our most recent partnership is with Africa Blockchain Center, which makes us one of the 7 protocols that they are looking to build use cases on top of to bring more innovation to digital health. We try to differentiate ourselves in one core area, which is to really build ready-made components for enterprises to plug in their front-end Web 2 interfaces and plug that into our network through the use of our ready-made components. So we've got 3 components that we focused on building. These are in identity. We are currently focusing on storage. And of course, in the 18-month to 24-month timeframe, we're looking to bring a stable coin on our network as well. All right, so a little bit more about how we got here. So currently on the network, we've got about 18,000 accounts. So we've got some traction for sure. And we are continually adding node operators on our network. For those of you, and I'm sure everyone here is very familiar with what that means. So a little bit about our timeline. So in 2017, DHealth was actually incorporated as a foundation. Originally, it was called HIT Foundation. And the first project that really kicked off its utility on the blockchain was, or the utility rather with DLT, was with a project with the National Lung Hospital in Vietnam, where to alleviate, and to fund further research for tuberculosis, there was a data capture tool or data capture application that was used to capture patient conditions for their coughs and analyze that data. In 2020, we started to work with Swiss TPH, Novartis, and Roche on their distinctive use cases within the corporation, some of which are quite confidential and still undergoing. And later on that year, actually, HIT Foundation rebranded to DHealth. And in 2020 to 2021, this is when, of course, investment came in from various venture partners. And in the month of March, DHealth Network went live on their mainnet. So since 2021 to where we are today, we've had a variety of different node partners join us, one of which that is quite notable is OrganX, that works with Paris Transplant Group. And something they're looking to build is, it's very interesting, is the utility of an NFT to represent an organ, to actually track the organ across the supply chain. So this is something that we have in our pipeline as well. So of course, DHealth, I'm sure everybody here is also very familiar with the problems that are existent and latent in healthcare as an industry. Of course, highly fragmented and burdened with intermediaries. Payment processing times are extremely long, which is where, you know, utility of a token or a stable coin really comes into use. And of course, general digitization is extremely low as well compared to other industries, which is where strong user experience and strong applications that are on our pipeline today can really help to alleviate this problem. All right. So one of the key solutions, as mentioned, was really to build ready-made components so that we can empower enterprises to really plug into our network and really leverage the advantages of using DLT. And in this case, also, we have used and we have built our own front-end applications so that users or patients can really, through a great gamified approach, take advantage of capturing their health data, capturing their activity data, and also get rewarded for this kind of activity. All right. So I'm going to jump into a couple of our partners over here and some active projects. So first off, I want to explain to you a little bit more about the ready-made components that we have. One of the big ones that we have recently released is called DIMI. It's our version of OAuth for DID, so decentralized identity, which is fairly unique because it allows you to scope out access to certain parts of your data instead of all of your data on chain. And this was actually built in collaboration with Roche as part of the utility that they would like to have on the network as well. The second one that we have in the pipeline is the stablecoin. However, this has been kind of reserved for a later stage in our roadmap. The main one that we're working on right now is the third one, which is decentralized storage. So at the moment, of course, we're using Fire and we're also using IPFS. And one of the things that we're working on, though, is really building another layer on top of DHealth Network to kind of formulate a truly decentralized storage system to back all of the patient data that is being transferred across our network as well. All right. So a couple of projects and a little bit more about our traction. So with all the partners that we've worked with on the right-hand side of the slide, you can see a little bit more about how this maps out to the active projects. One of the projects we worked on with Roche is the incentivized treatment monitoring that happened through one of our mobile apps. We also worked with treatment compliance support, which was the project with National Lung Hospital in Vietnam. And the next one with Swiss TPH was the tracking and tracing of rabies vaccine. And so there are a variety of different use cases actually that we have built so far on the network and are looking to, of course, expand on this utility with more enterprise partners coming on board. One of the ones that we're focusing on at this stage is rewards, of course, for healthy activities. We created that use case called Health to Earn, which was very rudimentary and just a simple proof of concept. And at our highest point, we had actually gotten to about 950 daily active users and with not a very good UX at all. So this is something that we've spent the last 3-4 months really revamping, completely rebranding as well. And we're set to launch our first public beta at the end of October, allowing people to actually integrate their fitness data and working with brands and partners to provide real world promotions to individual users through this DApp. All right, so there are a couple of other things that are actually under development. So one is a patient-controlled health data repo, and that's quite similar to what some of our competitors, of course, out there are doing, and clinical trial stem cell and organ transplant registries as well. So really common but significant use cases that happen with regard to DLT. All right, so I'm going to jump into the next slides to explain a little bit about our products. So one of the key products that we've actually revamped in the last 3 months is our Signer app. So this is really the gateway to the health ecosystem, and it allows you, of course, to track, transact, trade your DHP, which is our native token, and also scan to unlock access to different apps that we built on top of our network. Another thing that we're working on is having a DHP, well, a D-Health Pass, essentially, which is allowing you to keep a copy of your health data right in the palm of your hand. Okay, so a couple of dApps that we've built already. One of them is namely D-Health Life, which is allowing you to reward patients for giving access to their data or also to participate in research studies. This is already built and it's already been implemented. It's also representing a rare disease patient registry whereby pharma providers who are also furthering their research efforts put out different quests for research and reward users based on the information that they provide. The major one that we have been preoccupied with, as I mentioned, was Health to Earn 2.0, which is called the Health Elevate, which is much more tokenized approach to incentivizing wellness. And in exchange for activity data that comes in from users and in participation with governments and brands, we offer individuals incentives for their activity and to keep them moving. In addition to that, they are also able to enhance also the circularity of the economy, the token economy rather. Users are able to spend their token on brand promotions and also on research initiatives within the application itself. So this is just a snippet of a couple of the different types of NFTs that we also have that will be launched on Elevate. And these represent the same way in the Web2 space as data and digital marketing is creating a profile of the user with various traits and properties. These NFTs represent something very similar, of course, in the Web3 space. And I guess the slide, which is filled maybe with a little bit too much information, can summarize that kind of in a nutshell. So in the Web2 space, very often we're targeted through push methodologies, through CRMs that brands leverage to target us as consumers. However, very often, all of the affinities that we have outside of the digital sphere are not actually captured in one place. And in addition, very often the promotions that we received are not truly customized to our real world behavior. And through the use of NFTs and of course through reward tokens and sports cards that actually represent the strength of your affinity towards athletes, towards teams, towards sportswear brands as well, brands or corporations are really able to target you better anonymously as well, given that you are now governed solely by a wallet address, and understand a little bit more and about your real world activity in correlation, of course, with the kind of brands or the activities that you really do. So I will continue to talk a little bit more about, how D-Health as a network also desires to support and also to fund various projects or dApps within our ecosystem, mainly because we would like to, of course, have a solid exchange of health data that is governed by the users themselves and stored on, at the moment, stored on IPFS. However, in the future, to be stored on our storage layer as well. And with the Signer app at the center, really our network facilitates a collection of data through some of the dApps that are built already, the connection to data that can go back also to the dApps that have been built. And of course, lastly, the utility of data, which is probably the most important part. All right. So this is like a light overview of the storage solution that we have in the works on D-Health Network. This is basically talking a little bit more about how storage nodes really represent the backbone of the second layer of patient-controlled data that's stored off-chain. Given that we use DIMI as an identity component, it allows users on demand to scope out various parts of their health data that they would like to share with the respective stakeholders. In addition, also users have full control over their data on storage nodes. And lastly, of course, to really represent the true token economy appropriately and also to incentivize storage nodes, we have the element of block rewards. So I will not go into that in too much detail. So users today, or even enterprises today, can easily get started on the network itself. You can use existing dApps. You can also develop your own dApps. Our documentation is constantly evolving and being improved. You can also just jump in and actually run a node yourself and start to earn, of course, block rewards that come as a byproduct of transactions. All right, this is a quick overview of DHealth network nodes, and I think I can share a little bit more about this for any of you who may be interested in learning more about the network in detail. For the sake of time, I will skip this in detail. And of course, this is a little bit more of an overview or a snapshot of our block rewards and how they are distributed. So of course, 5% of the rewards go towards our innovation fund, which builders can of course apply to. 85% of them go to the harvesting accounts and 10% to the node operators themselves. And we've already completed our first halving, so naturally our block rewards have also halved. All right, so that kind of brings me to the end of the presentation. Thank you all for giving me your time. And if you would like to contact me for further information, you can simply reach out to me on my email. Thanks for listening. And I hope you join us in this journey to get blockchain ready for healthcare.
Thank you, Komal. Wonderful presentation. Next up, we'll have our next startup pitch from Insight. The CEO is Dr. Alonzo Sexton, who is also a Patient Tory Association ambassador. Welcome, Dr. Alonzo.
Hello, how are you? Thanks for having me. Can I share my screen?
Yes, you can go ahead.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, well, great. Well, yeah, thanks for the opportunity to share what we're working on in at Insight. As Chris mentioned, I've been working with the Patient Tory Ambassador Network for quite some time.
We're still seeing your we just needed a slideshow. I think we're still seeing
Slideshow, I'm sorry. Okay, is that better? Okay, are you seeing my screen, full screen now?
I believe we're still seeing partnership structure. So you may want to reshare and share again.
Okay.
Yeah, we can see it. Thank you so much, Dr. Alonzo.
Okay, great, thanks. So my name is Alonzo Sexton. I am a orthopedic surgeon. I've been in clinical practice for about 14 years, and my specialty is sports medicine. But I have a sort of interest in technology that we've had since 2015, when my practice actually sustained a cybersecurity attack in which over 400,000 medical records were stolen from our practice, and we were ransomed actually for Bitcoin. That was my introduction into sort of the decentralized systems, and it became obvious pretty quickly that a decentralized mechanism for maintaining records was appealing for a number of reasons, including some of the security, as well as the ability to align incentives across the healthcare industry. And that's really where Insight was born out of. And those of us in healthcare understand what a lot of the challenges are, particularly in regards to the trends which are occurring, including declining reimbursements, increasing costs, poor outcome measurements, and lack of access. And the idea behind Insight is that we believe that by utilizing some of these Web3 tools, we can create a unique solution that helps to align incentives and create subsidies essentially for providing access to care for patients by creating and leveraging the most important assets which exist in healthcare. And as we think about it, in healthcare, traditionally, physicians and nurses sit on top of the trust pyramid, which really represents the most valuable asset in the healthcare ecosystem. The second most valuable asset is data, with the number and the amount of data that is captured in normal daily business operations growing at a significant pace and rate. And the question is really, well, how do we unlock these two assets to create an environment that is actually more sustainable? So with Insight, what we're creating is essentially a B2B two-sided marketplace that connects buyers and sellers of health data by utilizing the trust layer associated with physicians. We are partnering with physician practices as validators and onboarders of patients to share data with those entities that would be interested in participating in a data economy. We are very hyper-focused. Again, with my background as orthopedic surgeon, there are some unique characteristics of independent orthopedic surgeons that make that a target demographic from a physician side, which is very appealing. And particularly on the consumer side, medical device companies, which have significant budgets for activities such as M&A activity, sales and marketing, have an interest in the day-to-day business operations of what orthopedic surgeons do. And by utilizing some of these tools that we know about in the Web3 space, we think that we can help unlock this much larger ecosystem. And so we think of it as a two-sided marketplace, or the eBay of health data, where we're in a very secure manner taking the creators of data and connecting them with those entities that are interested in having access to the information. As an example, one of the things I know as a physician, as an orthopedic surgeon specifically, is that patients that come to see me who have shoulder pain, for example, while that one single piece of data is valuable from a treatment standpoint, it also becomes valuable if we can actually engage these patients in agreements that allow us to actually share these data points with interested entities. So in this example, a patient that comes with shoulder pain, is one of the things that we know as subject matter experts is that probably about 90% of those patients have difficulty sleeping. So that's the clinical diagnosis might be rotator cuff tear or shoulder arthritis, but the practical experience for a patient is that they can't sleep. And so while we have the opportunity to correct them surgically or non-surgically, there's a number of entities that would be interested in this one single data point about, well, tell me about a population of individuals in a certain region that can't sleep. So through these arrangements, we allow patients to connect with these interested entities and then receive remuneration and monetization opportunities, essentially like licensing agreements, as the data flows towards the companies and revenues flow back to the patients, giving them opportunities to access and utilize one of their most valuable assets, which is their data. At this point, we see our progress as a three-phased approach, where we initially are focused on building out the physician network. We have approximately 30 surgeons that have gone through a beta test of our platform, which essentially is an engagement tool for physicians. One of the challenges with any type of physician-led initiative or platform is the engagement. And we're focused on increasing the engagement for these physicians after our first round of beta, which essentially was a simple labeling exercise, which I'll show you just a graphic of that on the next slide. But our approach is to build a physician network and then focus on building the patient network, again, using physicians as the onboarders and validators of as a source of truth. And then finally, engaging with on the consumer side of the marketplace with medical device companies as well as consumer product companies. This is a demo of the or graphic of our beta app, which we tested, which again allows surgeons to verify images as knee or shoulder. A very simple exercise for these subject matter experts, but an engagement tools that allows them to earn rewards for participating on our platform. On the back end, we have algorithms that have actually been training on the source data, which is the physician classifications or annotations of these images, with the goal of automating this process in the future as we add additional functionality to the application. So we have partners that we work with on both the Web3 and Web2 side, as well as data scientists, which I can talk about. But really, I think what our secret recipe for why we believe that we can be successful is that we're layering multiple layers of trust. We have a belief that the technological challenges in the healthcare space are secondary to the trust gaps that exist. So we're layering this patient-doctor relationship on top of the economic incentives, on top of the Web3 blockchain tools to create an ecosystem of trust that allows us to engage at the patient level, which is the ultimate goal for our company. We believe that at this time that there is an unsustainable network that exists in healthcare, and we're focused on doing what we can to change that paradigm. We're imagining a scenario where patients, instead of having a concern and fears about their ability to pay for healthcare, we believe that creating an environment where they can leverage their assets in a way that actually helps them to monetize as well as take control of their information is the future. And we're looking for partners that are interested and believe in this mission and this goal. And I thank you for the opportunity to present and talk about what we've been working on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Alonso. It's great hearing from Insight and the meaningful work that you guys are doing with data and in the orthopedic space. So we've heard from two amazing companies, Insight and BlockHealth Foundation. So we'll want to open it for a couple of questions from our judges, including Jonathan, and also from the audience before we head into our last startup presentation.
You're asking for questions, right?
Yes. Do you have any at this moment, Jonathan?
Well, for Kamal, so Kamal, is it? Where is she? You gone?
Kamal is still here.
I just wanted to say that you had a very insightful.
I'm still here.
There you go. Hi, I'm Jonathan. And
Hi, Jonathan.
I'm on the board of Patient Tory Association, and my background is that of a healthcare strategist. I was a former hospital administrator, did a lot of work with managed care, and now and electronic records, and now helping CRISA and the Patient Tory Association as on a board, as being on their board. I just wanted to say that you had a very nice presentation that was very insightful, particularly on the problems. It was very quick and very insightful. So I just wanted to give you that feedback. And
Thank
for
you.
both Alonso, always you are precise in how you present your concerns. But I always think about reimbursement. I always think about how the impact is to the application as it relates to how you're going to get paid. And I didn't hear either of you talk about that, other than the investment that people put into you. But at the end of the day, one, you have to pay back the investors, and two, you have to be an ongoing concern. So I don't know if you want to address that. We can talk about that offline if you prefer, but That's just a concern I always have, talking about startups and new programs.
Yep, I'm happy to comment quickly on our side. Really, one of the sort of analogies that we utilize is that there's a company called IQVIA, which was acquired a company called IMS Health. IMS Health business model was essentially to take data from pharmacies and from physicians about physician behavior, package that, and then sell it to pharmaceutical companies. There's no real equivalent to that, and so IQVIA has been around for 30 years, $48 billion company, but there's no equivalent for that in medical devices. And so medical device companies similarly want access to physician behavior information, like what implants we utilize, what total knees we put in, what screws we put in. And so that's the monetary source, at least in the first phase, is that we're connecting physician behavioral data, both what we do in surgery as well as some physician profiling information, to sell that to medical device companies that are trying to figure out, well, hey, how do we market? How do we do sales? And so that, again, would be the first phase for us, our monetary source.
Great response. Thank you, Dr. Alonso. Kamal, do you have a response?
Sorry for the hiccup. No, just really a thank you for the positive sentiment.
Okay.
Great.
Well, I think, go ahead.
Great. I was just saying, great. Go ahead, Jonathan.
I just wanted to say that it's clear that data is the capital, if you will, of these kind of activities. And I think going forward, particularly in the US, the monetization of the data will need some oversight somewhere along the line. And I'm sure many insurance companies will want to participate in that monetization, particularly as Alonso was talking about the value of that data for their use. I always have concerns about that, but it's just clear to have that up front as opposed to in the back office, so to speak. Those are my only comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jonathan. Very good, insightful feedback. And without further ado, we'll have our last startup presentation from Daniel Uribe, who is the CEO and founder of Genobank. I've gotten to know Daniel over the past couple of weeks. We're currently going through a cohort together. He has a great, amazing story with what he's doing with DNA and blockchain. All right, Daniel, you're up.
Thank you very much, Teresa. Good morning to everybody. Good afternoon, depending on the geographic location. I'm going to now share my screen. So, good morning, everybody, again, or good afternoon. My name is Daniel Uribe. I am the CEO and co-founder of Genobank.io. And today we're presenting Genobank.io. It's a protocol where we want to protect individuals and families and help researchers to have more biosamples for research. In a sentence, we want to enable a network of laboratory certified or clinical certified biosamples and consented in a way that can be proved using the blockchain technology. And we basically use NFTs or non-fungible tokens for doing that. So we think we allowed individuals and patients to own and control their biosamples, and more specifically, their DNA. I inspired in Genobank because in 2017, my son was diagnosed with a rare disease. And he was diagnosed using a DNA test. So he was diagnosed with Glanzmann thrombocythemia. And while this is a known pathology caused by a mutation in his 17 chromosome, there is no cure today. But we have hope on gene therapies, right? So in the meantime, we were like studying what's the bigger picture, right? And as you may know, the genetic diseases or genetic related diseases affect 7% of the population, which is a big family, right? Big family of genetic diseases is more than 560 million people affected. And the more dramatic number is that 95% of the pathologies have no FDA approved treatment. So what is, how can we help, right? My background is in cybersecurity. I'm an expert now in laws, in digital rights and privacy laws and bioinformatics. But the help we want to provide is for researchers, because 80% of them says that there's shortage of biosamples. People is not participating enough. And as you may guess, the number one concern for potential participants is who owns and controls my DNA, right? Where is going to be stored? Who's going to be access? Who's going to have access? How we're going to govern this data, right? There's lack of transparency, lack of privacy, and we cannot blame them, right? There's a hall of shame right now going on. There has been many different, let's say, passages in the handling of DNA as humans, very incentivized by data hoarding, incentivized by using the data as a commercial competitive advantage, but not necessarily used to help, strictly talking, the patients, right? It's not patient-centric yet. It's not patient-oriented, right? And there is no big incentive from them, from these companies, from these stakeholders today to change, right? Unless we do something about it, because this is opportunity, right? In the other side, the positive outcome is that 95% agree to donate when there's a detailed consent and control mechanism for their biosamples, their DNA, RNA, microbiome, and biodata, right? So in 2019, we partnered with William and Triken. He's the lead author of the ERC 721 smart contract, and we co-author what we call a bio NFT. Bio NFT is also protected by 3 patent pendings, and it comprises the use of NFTs plus a biosample tube or biosample kit, the one that I have in my hand, right? This is a very typical framework yeah, it's a very typical kit that is paired to a wallet, and then we create regulatory NFTs or consent NFTs, right? We have been peer reviewed by the British Blockchain Association, and we were even awarded by them, which we are very honored, in with our paper that is called Privacy Laws, Genomic Data, and Non-Fungible Tokens. And basically, we are programming privacy using smart contracts, or better said, non-fungible smart contracts, right? Basically, this is what we are doing: programmable biosample digital rights and metadata using dynamic NFTs. And that means that the information can be enriched, can be annotated, and the NFT can change through time, and also to increase their clinical and their economical value. This is the centerpiece. Our NFT is a governance token. It costs less than 95 cents per token. It's not an NFT that is made for speculation. This is made for helping the governance help the researchers be more transparent and protect the right to own and control their biosamples and their DNA for patients. These will enable economic value, because we are planning to launch a data marketplace, an ethical data marketplace, because only researchers will be admitted to browse and request the data. Patients will have control as a typical wallet. We have seen this in many cases. So now patients will have a wallet to withdraw consent, This is a dynamic consent platform. And I think this is very, I've been very excited about this. Now every researcher could have its own metaverse, or as we call it, a genoverse, to recruit patients, to talk to them, to see, hey, this is what I'm doing with my research, to present their papers. And this is a service that we call Metaverse as a Service for researchers using, or that has to do with biosamples. We already have 30 laboratories using our platform. We have generated more than 275,000 in revenue, and we have more than 330,000 biosamples so far. This is this is my last slide before I present my team. We're very excited. We just closed a collaboration with researcher Junot Quiroz, the CEO of Docking Way. He has osteogenesis imperfecta, and he's launching a kit using our platform in the next few months. And the most exciting part for him is the metaverse, because it'll help him to address participants of his research throughout the world. And he's in a wheelchair, so now his avatar in the metaverse will help to be more free, right? It's something that the body, the physical body, will not limit anymore, right? So we're very excited. And this is my team. We're basically a group of diverse and professionals in the fields of genomics, privacy laws, blockchain technology, and biobanking, right? We have an honor to be advised by Professor Daniel Catchpole and Professor Carol Estrada. Thank you very much. This is everything I have for you this morning. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here.
Wonderful presentation, Daniel.
Thank you.
Thank you again for all the traction you've made so far. It's pretty hard to especially be early, during these times. So great work, great traction. Before we move on to our next presentation, I'd like to open up to Jonathan to see if any questions there before we move on to our 2021 presentation winner.
I have one comment. I really appreciate that on this presentation, you talked about your advisory board and the folks that you have helping you from a theoretical and operational basis. And perhaps it's advice to the previous two presenters that would be helpful in their slide presentations to just talk about the intellectual, what's the word I'm thinking about? Assistance, I guess, that you get from outside sources. I think that's always very helpful to investors to know that you're not just operating in your own silo.
Awesome.
Thank you, Jonathan.
No comments. All right, so we'll move the agenda rolling with Rama Rao, who is the CEO of BlockCube, who is also our 2021 Startup Pitch winner, and also a recent nominee for the prestigious Pre-Gallian Award, which will be taking place in New York City at the end of the month, actually. So we'll have Rama talk more about that and the status of where he is in his development with BlockCube.
Thanks, Krissa. I'm just starting off my screen share. Let me just see if you can see the screen. I put it into presentation mode. Is the screen visible?
Yes, we can see your screen very well.
Brilliant. Well, firstly, it's never easy, following in the footsteps of such illustrious predecessors. It's very impressive to see what's going on. And I'm actually honored to be part to share exactly where we stand now since last year. Actually, Jonathan, this slide was planned out in any case. It gives an idea of the intellectual horsepower behind BlockCube. And even more, we are a team, and I'm standing on the shoulders of some very impressive people who have been part of our journey over the past 4 years. from my background wise, and my passion for this area both comes from suffering from a brain tumor before I did my MBA and wondering why it took so much time to get a drug through development. And to understand that better, after my MBA at INSEAD, I joined Eli Lilly and then Novartis and was there for almost 27, 28 years, including leading the finance function in clinical development. And I've been very fortunate to see issues taking place both at the strategic, operations, and tactical level. And that really has also been reinforced by the extensive series of advice we've got, because this area is so complex. A quick shout out to my colleagues and friends at Patient Tory. They pointed out the need for diversity. And based on that feedback, we actually set up a diversity, equity, inclusion, and digital transformation board, which has people representing various interests. But the fundamental group over here is basically coming from the industry. And so we look at ourselves as domain experts who are tackling with specific tools issues regarding the drug development processes. Now, most of you know that trials get delayed. It is very costly. And especially after COVID, the pace of what is called popularly decentralized trials has accelerated. And that's basically trials being done in patients' homes. So the suboptimal processes that already existed have got exacerbated. In addition, we've had issues of data integrity that has also bedeviled our industry. And finally, there is a financial settlement issue, a bit like what Komal was talking about in terms of payment processes. That gets really exacerbated in drug development. In the US, for example, doctors get paid after 4 months on an average when they participate in a clinical trial. And there's a 41% churn also that takes place. So our approach was to basically work with an iPad or a smart tablet and then put everything onto the cloud so it's fully decentralized, and then layer it at the base with a blockchain. We are running on Hyperledger Fabric by design for multiple reasons. Having said that, the beauty of the blockchain comes in not just from the data immutability or data integrity, but the smart contracts that we have built into the processes. And one of them is for the complete financial module, where we check with the clinical trial agreement, pay, including stable coins as well as crypto if need be, though we don't advocate that, then complete the accounting and complete the financial planning. So basically the problem today is that in most systems, it's like driving a car where you have the speed in real time, but the gas that is consumed, you find out after talking to people like me a week later or maybe a month later. In our case, of course, both speed and gas consumed or resources is known in real time. And that's the power that has of the blockchain. In addition, what we did was, because provenancing and clinical trials, supply chain integrity was also an issue, in addition to wastage, we built an IoT device-driven blockchain solution, which can track, the trial material, investigative materials, wherever they are, and biosamples. We tested this with breast cancer tissue in a PET block, which was sent actually from my home to the lab in Florida. And it's phenomenal because we could track the temperature, humidity, light, shock, and geolocation. And you see on the bottom left-hand, the graph of the temperature, which is tracked on an hourly basis. And that allows us to basically complete what we call a comprehensive, unified clinical trial software system. This is the Gartner chart, which talks about what they think should be there. And this is what our large competitors are also doing. But in addition, we've added something that others don't have, which is the financial module that I've talked about. And we believe by giving a unified platform with a single source of truth, we'll then be able to layer later other vendors who are part of the ecosystem in a private permission way. But at the end of the day, what we're really trying to do is really doing the true decentralization. which is the shifting of control from, let's say, centralized processes to patients who could be as poor and as illiterate as the folks that you see in this picture. And at the same time, keeping the centralized control to see that data integrity, governance, etc., is not eroded and actually is monitored at a long distance. As Krista was kind enough to note, we are really honored then that we've been chosen as a nominee for Prix Galien. We also had recently been advised that we've been nominated for the UCSF Rising Star Digital Health Awards. But even more, what thrilled me no end, given that we are working on lean startup and frugal innovation, is that CV Insights compared us to some of the bigger players like Medable and Science 37 and said that we had a technological lead over them. And with Medidata, which is again another multi-billion-dollar organization with a pricing and cost category. Our system has been stress tested and virtually certified by Health Innovation Technology Labs of New York, which is part of Columbia Business School. And we are also honored that Gartner Group, in their Hype Cycle report this year, in 4 of their reports, has included us as a vendor for people. For the investors in the audience, we have raised 1.4 million. We have bootstrapped our way. We've shown the demonstration of our product. We've just signed our first order. And as Dr. Sexton is there, and without divulging too much, it is for an orthopedic, biotech company. And the trial is taking place in Asia Pacific. The CRO is sitting in Texas, and the biotech company is in the Northeast. And we hope to show them how, in real time, the trial progress and data flows can be seen. We will be then following it up with the same trial in different countries and then expanding it elsewhere. From a competitive standpoint, we believe we differentiate ourselves in multiple ways. But the fundamentals is that, as the previous, my predecessors have shown, we start getting data in real time, and there are not too many people out there. And now to this chart, I'm going to add what Komal had demonstrated, etc. But even more, with some of the main players like Viva, Parexel, etc., Bioclinica, we believe with the end-to-end system competencies and the financial capabilities, we give our customers, who are basically small and mid-sized CROs, a very strong tool to accelerate their clinical trials and their revenue growth. We are not stopped over here. I've already spoken about how BlockHealth, the software, is the foundation for everything that we do. We have already launched on the clinical trials piece, a software piece, which is commercialized, and we are growing in terms of customer acquisition over there. I talked a little bit about supply chain. We are working on a B2C in a stealth mode right now, and also on a Web3 platform, and where we'll be able to integrate our own protocols from a self-sovereign ID, zero-knowledge proof, and federated learning. In fact, we just got a request for a proposal from a German company that is trying to do a cancer trial where there are multiple tumors in different areas, and they want to see how we can apply federated learning to make the trial go faster. So in summary, we are accelerating the management decentralized clinical trials. We believe that the time has come now for doing this not just in terms of the patient's house, but giving the patient fuller control. And I'm very encouraged to see what others are working on. And what we're really trying to do right now is that our angel seed funding is going pretty good. We have some capacity for others who are interested. But even more importantly, we're trying to get to a seed round of 3 to 5 million in early next year, ideally January. And we welcome interest from anybody, and we also welcome interest from potential customers for our system. And with that, I'll just turn it over for questions.
All right, any questions for Rama? Right. Thank you so much, Rama. If we have any
Thank
questions
you.
online, we would definitely make sure to get back to it.
Please.
And at
And-
this
and-
time, yes.
Sorry,
you go.
Krista. And in conclusion, my contact details are simple, rama@blockcube.com. Please feel free and I'll connect with you on LinkedIn. Thank you for the time.
Thank you again, Rama. Great updates and great presentation.
Thank you.
All right. At this time, we'd like to bring our final speaker to the stage, April Boyd, who is also a partner of the association, a Global Security Awareness Manager, and Executive Advisor on DIB in Immersive and Emergent Tech. April? You're still muted.
Yes, let me bring up my screen and hold on just a minute. There we are, change that. I'm jumping from presenting at another area. So let's see the screen. There we are. Okay. And there we are. So I'm glad to see some faces that I recognize this year. So I'm excited to be speaking today on the security, safety, and sovereignty in cybersecurity. A little to what Carissa has already alluded to, I am the Global Security Awareness Manager for a 1415 company. So it's really rewarding to be able to speak from the global perspective of information security at such a time as this. So, meaning that October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So this is a very much robust time for me. Equally important is the fact that the national theme is see yourself in cyber. So this morning, evening, afternoon, I will speak to that point in particular as I continue through the presentation. So the question is, what does that mean? See yourself in security. And essentially, I believe as a security awareness manager that it means that we each have a role to play in cybersecurity. And so here are 4 roles to help us and you get started. So role number 1 is to practice proper cybersecurity hygiene. And I know for many of you in the audience today that you're like, yeah, we know this. However, we also know that the weakest link to any cybersecurity incident is most likely human error or an internal threat. So when I talk about practicing proper cybersecurity hygiene, here are 4 points that I want to bring to the forefront. That the regular and/or daily practices to maintain the health and security must be focused on devices, the networks, and data that anyone can come in contact with, whether it is intentionally and most times unintentionally. Pretty much to make sure that you're keeping sensitive stuff safe, whether that is professional information such as your salary or personal identifiable information, or personal info like your health records. Basically, cybersecurity hygiene is the same concept as daily personal hygiene. You keep it clean and secure in the cybersecurity realm would mean to keep it free from theft, threat, or attacks. Now, role number 2 is to be equally diligent while at home as you are at work. A lot of cases or incidents that I see or that are brought to my attention that warrant additional training is that people don't continue being diligent once they clock out from their job. But as we all know, it is an ongoing perspective or lifestyle even, whether you're working specifically within cybersecurity or not. Your digital footprint keeps going and going and going like the bunny, right? But with every post view, follow, or like, you're expanding that digital footprint. The data points are being compiled with, or, and as we know, even today, it can most likely be without your consent. So with every interaction, engagement that you have, be cognizant of that. Essentially, what I tell people when I talk about cybersecurity awareness as a whole is to think before you click. Be cautious before you enter a virtual room. Be cautious before you surf a new site or visit a new shop. Is to keep your password strong. I know, we hear about this all the time, but you can never, ever remind people enough. Yes, it must be long, unique, randomly generated. More people are starting to use passphrases or a string of words. But once again, you still have to find that balance between, is it going to be easily recognizable, or that something can guess whether it's automated or an actual person? Equally, if not more important, and this is one of the personal pet peeves I have as a security manager, security awareness manager, is that people have to adhere to the company's password policies, right? I know the timely changes are a pain, but if we all adhere to them, there will be, the bigger purpose in that will mean and will be meaningful and matter. And then once again, as I alluded to the first point here, to create truly new passwords. I'm still seeing people that add a different number or switch a number or make, the L a 1 or things of that sort. Once again, randomly generated is the key. Use the password managers. Now, I know with recent incidents, the verdict is still out about whether you should or not. I mean, I use LastPass, but I'm still considering, should I change? But for the most part, using password managers would be a better way to protect your information or your company's information or infrastructure. Last but not least, to enable multi-factor authentication. Once again, the key here is to add an extra layer or level of security, whether that is you doing that or it being mandated from your organization or company. Rule number 4, and remember, we're thinking about how do you see yourself in cyber, keeping in mind that we all have a role to play. One of my primary roles as a global security awareness manager is launching and capturing the data on our phishing campaigns that we launch internally. So as simple as it's put, report phishing attempts. And regardless of what your role is in your company or your business, whether you're the one collecting the data, whether you're the one launching it, or whether you're the one receiving the phishing attempts, or whether they're real or not. 3 points here. Don't delete, right? A lot of people are just want to click it or just want to get through it. But look, a missed opportunity occurs there. I kid around with people saying that, don't you want to be a cyber ninja? Someone that is on it, someone that is succinct, someone that and I don't want people to be suspect when they get phishing attempts and things of that sort, but just don't delete it, because this is a bona fide missed opportunity to be the one. Same thing in the same vein as you don't want to skip a possible phishing attempt either. Most times when I train people and talk to people in the industry about, what do we do when it happens, right? Because it's going to happen. It's not when, it's not if, it's when. So don't skip thinking that someone else will report it. Once again, as you seeing yourself in cyber, establishing your role, whatever that may look like, and it may be varied, do it. Taken from Nike, just do it. Don't skip, report it. So last but not least, and this is dear to my heart as a security awareness manager, is following the required phishing protocol at your workplace. So for where I work, we have a specifically designated icon that we encourage people through our training and just through awareness to click on that icon, even if they suspect that it is a phishing attempt. Now, if it is, that's great, more awareness, but even if it is not, it may warrant still a response or to be viewed by our incident response team. So having an icon that is specifically designated to report phishing. Send the content as instructed. Once again, there should be a phishing protocol, so to speak, in place. So are you sending it as an attachment? Are you forwarding it as it is? What has been communicated to you or to your people as how to send the content should it be a phishing attempt? Last but not least, know the who, what, when, where, and how to report it. It's not the matter of if it is going to happen, it's when. And as we all know, the attempts are getting more, they're getting better as hackers and malicious attacks occur minute by minute. So the more diligent, more vigilant that you can be seeing your role in this, the better. So in recap for the different roles, 1, practice proper cybersecurity hygiene 365, 24/7. Be equally diligent while at home as you are at work. And I'd say even more, even in this case, because when we're at home, that involves our family, right? That involves our children. A lot of information and research and stats are out there about safety with our children. Rule number 3 is keep your password strong. And then 4, reporting phishing attempts, whether you think they're valid or not, your role is to report it. So keeping it simple. Now, I have a few thoughts on, as my title alluded to, on security, safety, and sovereignty in cybersecurity. So especially from my perspective as a global security awareness manager, security, safety, and sovereignty. So when we look at security, security matters. I know it's a simple phrase and hopefully most of us live in that perspective or that mindset as we leave our work, or if you're working remotely like me, as we check into our workstation or our area that we work in from home. But 2 things that I wanted to point out here, once again, from my perspective as a global security manager or awareness manager, is a lot of people don't put a lot of attention to opting out, right? But I'm here to challenge you to, even for yourself or for your staff or people or coworkers or peers, that opting out is a valid option. Equally important, it's valid because you have the choice whether or not to do it. So I want to remind people that it's okay to choose not to participate. A lot of us, or a lot of people, not us, suffer from the FOMO, fear of missing out. But you know what? It's okay. If you don't feel comfortable with how your information is being shared or what have you, it is okay to opt out. Choose it. Now, another pet peeve that I have is the cookie settings. And I haven't shared before that prior to becoming a global security awareness manager at a Fortune 15 company, I was a professor of cybersecurity. And I would always encourage my students, just the little things can make a huge difference. So when it comes to cookie settings, wherever we go, we'll see that alert or disclaimer right at the bottom, top, somewhere on that main screen. So don't just accept all, right? We're talking about how to see yourself in cyber, knowing your role and your rights. So I encourage people to be aware and know your options. I get personal joy when I go into the cookie settings, bypassing that accept all button, and I disable or enable accordingly, because this extra step, believe me, makes a huge difference. So what are some of the common cookie settings that you'll see that you can either enable or disable? So necessary is usually the first one that you'll see. This enables the basic functionality of websites. Pretty much this is always going to either already be enabled or you can't change, but it is still listed there by law. And then the other ones, you pretty much will have the full control of determining whether it's enabled or not. The functional cookies, where these help to perform certain functions while you're on that site. The performance cookies these are the areas where they analyze the key performance indexes of the website to provide a better user experience while you are there. You may also see the analytics, which this one goes a little bit deeper and it analyzes the metrics, common things such as the traffic source, number of visitors, and the sort. And then a new one that I don't see this one as much, but I was kind of researching what are some of the common ones that you may see, was others. And, you know, it's ever evolving, right? So the others category is just uncategorized cookies that have not yet been classified. So when we look at safety and safety measures, they're in place for a reason. And I know you're familiar with these, but once again, coming from the mindset of a global security awareness manager and trying to make sure that it's you know, livable, breathable, acceptable concept for the end users, there are 4 pretty much overarching safety measures that are always going to be in place for one reason or not. You always are going to have regulations. I just jumped off of a CSAM event and the speaker there was talking about regulations, right? Well, from a cybersecurity perspective, this ensures a reliable consistency of operation across the board, right? So interoperable issues, things of that sort across a region, across an industry, regulations build consistency. Then you may also have requirements. Now, these will be set up in place to help maintain regular daily practices and processes and modes of operations that you'll most likely interact with, engage, or even lead at certain points. Then you may find mandates that are in place for safety measures. Now, these are put in place most of the times is due to a negative and or unfavorable previous occurrence or incident. I like to kind of say that these are just teachable moments that are documented now because something happened and this is now the after effect. Last but not least, compliance. Probably most of us kind of fall somewhere in this where we are compliant in relation to either a regulation, requirement, or a mandate. Once again, this enables strict adherence, most likely enacted through law. So 4 safety measures that you will come in contact, if not all, regulations, requirements, mandates, and compliance. Last but not least is sovereignty, right? I love this word. I love this word. So sovereignty in and of itself talks to the supreme power of authority, right? This is a huge issue on multiple levels that nations, governments, small businesses even are really looking at and looking at how it will apply to their mode of operation. But if we peel back the layers a little bit more, then we look at self-sovereignty. And this perspective is that we are all the makers or owners of our own identity. Equally, if not important, their identity online as well as offline. So it's that moral or natural right of a person to have bodily integrity and to be the exclusive controller. And without going into a lot of things, we all know that that is a very much debated topic at this time. So as we continue to peel back the layers as well, we also look at what you all know as SSI, the self-sovereign identity. Now, this extends even further to online entities, especially as we are continuing to evolve and work within the ecosystem of the metaverse and social media as a whole. So essentially, the self-sovereign identity, SSI, is your digital identity wherever you go, in reality, real time, or not. So it brings us back to the initial question of how do you see yourself in cyber. I thank you for your time this morning to speak to you on just a common but really important issues and concepts to consider in your role in the cyber or virtual BlockHealth ecosystem. My name is April Boyd-Nerona. I am a Global Security Awareness Manager. Do we have any questions?
Yes, Rama, please go ahead.
Thanks, Krista. April, very impressive presentation. It kind of hit some of the hot buttons that I had. So thank you for that.
Yes.
So my question for you is that when we run a startup, which is relatively a smallish organization, and having also worked in a Fortune 50 company, there's a basic limitation on what you can do and how you can do it. Any thoughts on how a small startup or a mid-sized startup should address cybersecurity? Because all the points that you mentioned frighten me, and I've been fished so often that it's not funny because all our details are out in public. So any thoughts, any suggestions?
You know, cybersecurity threats, phishing, ransomware, all of those are frightening, and they are. So I'll give you that. What I always suggest to people is to keep it simple, right? I remember reading a report on the anatomy of a hacker, right? And there's a lot of stock to put in, you know, what is the mindset of someone that is on the other side, right? But when you peel back the layers, as I mentioned before, it's all really, I don't want to say it's really simple, but simple steps, daily monitoring really makes the difference. A lot of people think, just like with the colonial breach, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was due to a phishing attempt. It wasn't a mass nation state incident that happened. It was from an employee that was phished. So when I mentioned that one of the primary roles that I have as a global security awareness manager is launching phishing campaigns strategically throughout the year. So when you think about even being a smaller startup, essentially it's the same. Be consistent, track the data or the metrics, you know, who is, if you have a certain pool of people that you're launching the campaign for, you know, what are their, you know, what's the data that you got from that? And if it's only just one or two people, did they fully understand the concept of why you should or shouldn't click on this? What are the things that you can see that would warrant, take a minute, should I click, right? So it's I don't want to oversimplify it, but surefire, consistent, dedicated steps. And I applaud anyone initially just for thinking about it. There are a lot of companies that don't even consider it as a part of an essential tool for operations until after the fact. So you get kudos for even just thinking about considering it, putting it in the very fiber of your framework of daily operations.
Thanks.
Thank you, April. Any other questions? Very timely message to, you know, October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and we're all building, you know, secure access to our most personal, you know, data and information. It's very timely, very important. And we definitely hope to take this knowledge as we continue to build our companies. So as we move into our closing segment of our summit webinar today, I would just like to thank all the companies who presented. It's our first year. We weren't able to choose a winner. If you can put up the slides, but we thank you guys for presenting. We look forward to, you know, seeing your progress, traction. We hope you guys can come back again next year. Most likely we'll hopefully be live in Dubai next year. I know we've been doing virtual for the past 3 years, but we hope to do a segment that is also in person as well as virtual for those that cannot travel. So we'd like to thank DHealth Network, Insight, Genobank, Daniel, Kamal, Dr. Alonso again for your wonderful presentations. At this time, I'd like to call up one of our Dubai UAE ambassador, Mazen Gadir, who's been a part of the Patient Warrior Association, I believe going on almost 5 years now, to just give some closing remarks, all of the new regulations, breakthroughs that is currently happening in the UAE and Dubai.
Oh,
Oh,
thank you so
Mazen,
much.
are you there? I don't
Yes,
think
yes, I'm here. So,
Oh, here
can
you, there you go. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for having me, and it's such a pleasure to be part of the family always. So, thank you.
Great, Mazen. I guess you can just introduce yourself and
Sure.
just give a quick overview on updates happening in the crypto and blockchain space.
Sure, absolutely. So, Mazen Gadir, I've been living in this part of the world for around 43 years with 22 years in healthcare. I've been also kind of working in a number of different a number of different hats, from government to public sector to private sector. So I've been an ambassador for almost 3+ years. And I'm a digital health addict, so and a blockchain enthusiast. So basically, I've been monitoring some of the latest updates, especially now that we have GITEX happening. So Dubai is the crypto oasis of the region and globally, with a lot more focus on blockchain from a crypto point of view. And I think the crypto rush in cryptocurrency rush across the globe, especially in Dubai, has been highlighted as an important aspect, specifically now that we are getting a lot of metaverse focus. We've just launched the metaverse strategy in August with His Highness emphasizing the amount of economies that will be unblocked with the focus on metaverse and crypto. At the moment, there's a lot of legislation that is being processed specifically for digital assets, with the new digital asset authority that has been launched in the last couple of months. So there is a number of processes in terms of enablement of cryptocurrency payments across the different industries, real estate leading the way, and then moving into as well as retail. So GITEX is also opening up the door for more and more focus on NFTs, Web 3.0, metaverse as well. There is a number of talent immigration, obviously, into the UAE aspects that has opened up the door for more R&D. There is now a lot more focus on research, specifically in the area of blockchain, and with the new initiatives that are coming in cryptocurrencies, NFTs, and metaverse. So there is now more architects coming in. We are hosting a number of Ukrainian talent and Europeans and Asian talent that is actually showing us the way to try and build more research facilities and research capabilities in the UAE. And that's what GITEX is focused on. The rise of fintech and the surge of fintech is also enabling us to bring in more blockchain-enabled solutions and tools, more focus. Again, in the space of 6 weeks, we had, I think, no less than 3 to 4 major metaverse, NFT, and Web 3.0 conferences. That's just in a space since the beginning of September, 6 to 8 weeks, I'll say. So it's definitely, from a legislative point of view, Metaverse now is going to take us into a new wave of rules and policies coming out of the Dubai Authority for Digital Asset, the DADA, or I think that's actually becoming more and more closer to the growing numbers of organizations. I think we've exceeded over 5,000 blockchain-related companies, from cryptocurrency to NFTs, in a very short space of time. And then the crypto oasis concept, as opposed to the Silicon Valley, it's becoming a huge attractive proposition for investors. So this is just a quick news bulletin on what's happening in GITEX, and definitely the eight aspects of focus in GITEX. There is a number of focus. For example, the GITEX conference, the Global Information Technology Exhibition and Conference, is focused on the Xverse. They call it the Metaverse. North Star, where it looks at all the startups and the potential unicorn companies that are coming out, which is one of the main strategies in the UAE. AI and the advent of AI. DevSlam, which is another concept where it looks at the learning and upskilling and talent acquisition. As I said, we have a number of immigration programs for talent into the UAE. Blockchain and the concept of Web3, fintech and the surge of fintech, marketing mania, and the number of MarTech communities that are new terms are coming up, believe it or not. So a quick news overview with some breaking news with focus on Metaverse is enabling more and more strategy focus on blockchain across the different industries.
Well said, Mazen. Seems like a lot of adoption, a lot of work is being done, especially in the UAE and Dubai. So it's good to see over 5,000 projects. We're going to see definitely more of the adoption of the metaverse, as well as we're all building, towards that in healthcare, which may take, a much longer time for that adoption as well.
Absolutely.
Great. Well, I'd just like to thank everyone again for joining today. This webinar recording will be available if you've registered. We will be sending out an email with the recording so you can view that. It will also be available on the patientoryassociation.org website, where you can also see past summits, recordings and companies and presentations. On the event page, you can also see, the ecosystem, who in blockchain and healthcare has presented today. So again, we'd like to thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you guys next year.